Welcome, Andreas, to Metalladium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about. For me, I love Bastard Grey since the beginning. What Lies Beyond, your first album, is a great one. The second one, the Aroma and the Human Suffering, a great one too. And now we're talking about the band, this new album, Vortex of Disgust, and more things related about this crazy metal world. So, starting with a common question during all interviews, perhaps that you did for promote this album. Why the band delayed more than usually years to release a new album? Because in the previous one you delayed 4 years. Now you delay another for. Oh no, you are delayed since for years to release a new album. So perhaps this aspect to release 4 years is like a cliche in the band to release every 4 years we will have a new album from Bastard Grape.
Well, I hope it won't be 4 or 5 years till the next one. We had the whole album recorded 2 years ago, but I don't know. Our singer quit, and we decided to re-record everything again. So that's why, I guess. Shit takes time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, compared to the previous one, this new album for me it's a great one. As usually. So, but for you, perhaps you have a different opinion talking about the music aspects, the lyric aspect. Perhaps these albums for you is more evolved the sound of the band. So, what is your point of view compared to, or what are the biggest difference that exists with this new album compared to the previous ones?
I think more about I think we worked more on the dynamics of it. The first one was full-on attack all the time. It's intense, and the second one's we brought it down quite a bit in tempo and intensity, a bit too much. I think in hindsight, it's a bit too mid-tempo, slow. I think in this album the faster parts are faster, the slower parts are slower. There are more. I think we worked more with the dynamics of the songs. It could go out in different directions, and I hope it's a bit more varied than the previous one. That was my goal, at least.
For me, one of the big accomplishments that the band has since the beginning, since 2012 to now, is that 3 members are still in the band: Maria, Peter, and you. So, how is the motivation to keep doing music with the same guys, with the same? But just two times changed the. Daniel entered in 2016, and Thiago entered in 2020. So, for you, how the things going with the band since the beginning to now, with the new members, the old staff, and more than 10 years of existence?
Well, I played with Peter since 2007, I think, in other bands, and Maria too. We were in bands before that, and Daniel, he joined us for our first tour, so he feels like almost it's been there since the beginning. And then I think we just found something that really works. We're not that super active. We all have different stuff going on in our lives and can't commit 100%, but we know where we are and what we can expect from each other when with this band. So I think we found a good balance, and that's why we've had kind of like a solid, stable lineup. And then we have a new singer because shit happens, and it worked out for the best.
Great. So one detail that I didn't know with the last 2 albums, especially from Diorama and this Vortex, is that in the first one you included a punk element at that time, but now you are far away from this aspect, and you are growing with a more visceral and death metal, like with the Swedish influence and the US influence. So how do you mix these concepts, the US and the Swedish aspects, into your music?
Well, almost all of us in the band, we come from a punk background. me and Peter, we play in a punk band and have been doing for years. And me and Maria, we played in a crust punk band before, and I played in a million punk bands. So that's my kind of where my DIY ethics and so that's where I came from. My previous band, which I wrote the music for mostly, it was kind of death metal influenced crust punk, and I started writing more and more death metal stuff for it, and it just like let's just do a death metal album. So that's how Bastard Grave kind of happened. I just grew tired with the punk thing and wanted to do. That's why the first album is so punk, I think.
Okay. So another detail into these three albums is that you are still release these three productions with Pulverized Records. So how do you feel the work with since the beginning to now with Roy?
With Pulverized Records?
Yes, how do you feel with working with him through more than 10 years?
Oh, it's been a few years now. They've been super great to us since the beginning. We did our first demo in, I don't know, 14 maybe, and they just contacted us, and it's been super easy since day one with them. No problem with anything. We said like we wrote the contract for the first album, but haven't written anything since then. It's just been like a mutual agreement. We contact them when we feel like we have a new album about to be complete, and they just pick your studio and we'll pay for it, and we'll release it. It's been smooth, no problem at all. It's been super great.
Okay. Well, see, talking about now about the aspects of the death metal, some people say that one of the biggest elements of the Swedish death metal is the HM2 in the old death metal bands. So perhaps can you, if we talk about this element to the music, can we say is it possible to develop this HM2 with your personal sound achieved over the years?
It's such a distinct sound, so it's so super integrated with. For the first album, I just wanted to do like a Swedish death metal album because that's music I've been listening to since I was a kid. I just felt I needed to get that album out of me. And when I started writing album number 2, it was like I didn't have anything else in me with the HM2 thing. So I have to leave it now. I have to do something else because it's so characteristic sound, that pedal and the sound it makes, that I couldn't write anything. I just felt a bit confined and constricted by it. So I just had to like, okay, I can't use it anymore now. It's too much. So I had to leave it. I haven't played with a HM2 metal pedal for, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years now. 6 years, I think. Yeah. I think, yeah. It's a cool pedal. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, as you know, a lot of people now are living in a world that prefer to listen to music by singles. So that's why now the people prefer to hear it with these digital platforms, Spotify, iTunes, etc. So in a world that more and more singles are present or returning back in the 40s and 50s, because at that time the music spread just by singles at that time. So if we try to relate this aspect, which single or which song represents for you all sensations, all feelings that this album has for these generations especially?
You mean one song from
yes. Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah, I know.
It's especially since I think we've done a quite varied album. I think the single we released first, Necrotic Ecstasy, has that's I think that's why we chose it, because it has elements of more straight on death metal and headbanging, and some more doomy parts. I think it has most of the elements that we use.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what is your? But I think you are one of the new people in Swedish, especially, that talking about one that never see this, perhaps this deep trading, this, perhaps you never live these aspects before, because I'm from the 80s, and when I remember when the music spread by this time, tape trading, sending letters to other countries, to other cities, to see what happened. And sometimes we expect 1 or 2 years to bring here to Latin America to hear one album that released 2 years ago. So that's a curious thing at that time. So perhaps you have the opportunity to live that moment in your world. But what is your opinion about now the digital aspect? With this digital aspect is more fast, more easily, more fast to looking in the web, the music, and it's obviously the people doesn't have much attention when a band with this kind with this aspect just sing one single, two singles, then next band. This is new way. So for you, what is your opinion about now the digital movement around the world? Is good or is bad for the music? Hello?
Uh, I albums like full, because if I hear something I like, I want more of it. If I hear one good song, I want 10 good songs from that band. So I want the whole thing. But I enjoy how easy it is to discover new music, and just go on, like, just, oh, what's that, and not have to like wait 2 weeks for an album to appear on my doorstep that I ordered. I've also been in those. I'm not that young, so I've also been tape trading, but more in the punk scene before. So you can't beat that feeling of getting that album or getting that demo tape that you've been waiting a month for, and like listening to it to bits. But still, I prefer just how easy it is to discover new music. But of course, then if it's something I like, I try to support it and buy the album or something. But I think it's a good thing the digital revolution has done to the music scene. Definitely.
Mm. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember when the first album came out, What Lies Beyond, and the promo into the promo text into this album. Remember that, I don't know if it was Pulverized Records or if it was your manager or who knows, that put that this band was created by for the Ashes for Nirvana 2002. So I don't know if I'm correct wrong, because a lot of times I read one time about this aspect. But when I try to do this interview with you, I try to find this information a lot where I can read, but I never found this information. But I remember very well that this when What Lies Beyond appears to promote the album sets in the text in promotion text sets, these bands came from a Nirvana 2002. But it's weird when I found information about all members. No one is in Nirvana. No one's there in Nirvana 2002. So perhaps do you hear this aspect from the first time with Bastard Grape?
I think I know why how you got it wrong. About the same time that we released that album, I know that Pulverized also released a band called Under the Church, I think they're called. And that's the old Nirvana 2002.
Yeah, but
guys, I think that's because we have nothing they're like 10 years older than us and from a different part of Sweden. Like we're in the south, they're from the far north somewhere. So it's not, but I think they released an album about the same time as we released our first one. I must have it up in some way there.
Okay, perhaps it was my confusion. That's okay, but that's okay. Okay, okay.
But
one aspect that I noticed from these Bastard Grapes is that you evolve with a lot of things, with a lot of textures. As you said, you have more dynamics in these aspects. But as we can spoke a few minutes ago, the music industry changed a lot with the digital platforms because every day release singles, albums, EPs, compilatories, re-editions from the band that's now in the 80s or 90s. So there's a lot of music every day. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So for you, what is the biggest difference that Bastard Grape has in their music compared to a lot of bands compared nowadays? Because sometimes it's very difficult to get attention for new people. Even we speak about the algorithm, the YouTube or Spotify, they always recommend the same bands: Entomb, Dismember, Grave, Autopsy. So how do you see this aspect that that the Bastard Grape perhaps has a more personal sound than the others one?
Oof, that's a tough one. I don't know if we have that kind of like unique personal sound. We sound as we sound, and I'm when I write music, I'm never aiming to write something that's supposed to sound unique. It ends up sounding as it sounds, and if people find that new and interesting, then fine, that's great. But I never write anything with the intention of writing something groundbreaking or extremely unique, or it's just become forced. I write what I write, and it becomes what it becomes. If people like it, fine. If not, if they think that's something I've heard a million times, sure, no problem with me. You don't have to listen to it, but I think it's a wrong approach when writing music with the goal of just sounding unique and finding. I think if you just do your thing for a couple of years, you start to find your own voice and your own sound without really trying. It just happens. You become something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been listening talking about more about this album. So I've been listening many times to this new Vortex of Disgust, where I did not, as you said, where I did not, for me, Bastard Grape drinks a little bit from the previous album, but pushing something new ahead. As you said, you are more dynamics for the etc. etc. So do you think that this chaos of the pandemic and war influenced you to do a more challenging album that previous two ones for you, or because the musicians have a lot of connection with the external and internal details of the environment in general?
I think this is definitely a pandemic album, because everything stopped. We had no shows, no tours booked, so we just had time to focus on writing, which is kind of my favorite part. Having a band is being in the rehearsal space with my friends and focusing together and writing something new and getting that feeling of fuck, this sounds good. So we just had a lot of time to just focus on writing new stuff and not having to like rehearse set lists for coming tours or shows and stuff like that. It can be fun, but I prefer writing new stuff. So we just had time to focus on writing and recording and listening and recording, listening, and change stuff back and forth. As I said, we recorded the whole album 2 years ago, but then scrapped it and re-recorded it from scratch.
Okay.
Okay. So it took.
Oh, okay. So it's a pandemic album. Nice, nice. So talking about this subject, but talking about the subject that you feel as a musician, no? And living influence, that feeling what happens internally, externally because you are a musician. So many musicians says that they don't have a direction when writing music and carry away by the feeling that they have in the moment. So and most of the times they don't have a direction exactly, you know, for what creates for the music, riffs, sounds, etc. So for you, how do the parts of producing an album connect with the idea of sensation of it? Could we say that that the music that you create is a music guide by the feelings, or perhaps it's a it's a music guide by a thinking way? I thinking way I said when you said I have 3-4 riffs and then I create the mathematical aspect 340, 640, etc., to create and do a song.
It's from your description or a question. I think it's a mix. When writing this album, I think we had the idea of having it more dynamic in or varying in tempos. That was like a set goal I had in my mind when I started writing. I just wanted it to be faster, slower, and yeah, more varied. But after that idea, I just kind of like I let it go, and of course I have like 1 million riffs in my head or in my phone, and just trying to piece them and sew them together and feeling that it doesn't work and rip them apart and putting them back together in some other way until you get something that you're satisfied with. But it's a hard fucking process, just having like all these and keeping it in your mind. I don't have a computer. A lot of people work with computers and putting up riffs and song and piecing them together. I don't have that. I just record the riffs on my phone and try to like keep them up here with ideas. But it works for me, but it could have been easier.
Okay, nice to hear. You are one of the first, where you are one of the last ones that created music and doesn't record in a PC, just in the brain itself. That's a great to know about it. It's a great detail. It's a great detail to know. So, talking about now about the we are very close to this interview too. So I'm talking about from the cover art since the beginning. I remember when Lies Beyond appears though, and the cover art was a skeleton there, then black and white. Loved it, by the way. Then in diorama of the human suffering is more red, all is red, and a body there, a lot, and a body there. So, but this new album changed completely the subject in the color arts of the band, because usually the bands focus in 1 or 2 colors if we compare the previous one. But now you have a lot of mixture, a lot of colors, with a mound, with teeth everywhere that trying to eat 2 people in there. So it's a lot of things to analyze for this aspect. So for you, how do you relate the music in Bastard Grave in each album with the cover art, and especially how do you decide to change the complete approach to the cover art in Bastard Grave's music?
Well, for this album, we had a friend that did the cover art that didn't really suit us, and we were really stressed. And then we knew this necromaniac from Germany, great guy, and he had like 2 weeks to do the cover artwork, which is super fast. And he did an awesome work. We loved the cover art for this album, and he just took it's a vortex of disgust. He just dug deep into his mind and just tried to think of the most disturbing and disgusting shit he could think of and put it in a painting. And he has his own very unique style. You can really tell it's maniac artwork. And especially with we talk about the color scheme of it. He has this, with the watercolor, you can really tell it's his. and I like how it differs. When I got the album, I put the 3 albums next to each other, and they all look very different. It's not like even it's the same band. It's totally different pieces of art, and I like that. I don't like it's a theme. It's separate pieces.
Okay. So as I said, we are very close to this interview, Andreas. And for that, what are the future plans that the band has for this new Vortex in Disgust? Perhaps you will prepare a video upcoming or more videos upcoming, or perhaps you are scheduled a European or North American tour. Who knows? Because now it's possible to do a tours around the world, or who knows? Because well, perhaps this year or next year, who knows? A Latin American tour. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be cool. The band we share rehearsal space with, Darkane, they're going on a Latin America tour like in a week. So would be cool to do that. But we got a tour booked, or almost booked, planned for Europe in October. I'm booking it myself. And we got a split 7-inch coming out soonish. Hopefully it will be announced soon. And we are working on a video also. Hopefully it will be out in time for the album release, but sometime then. It's it's really it's going to be something. It's going to be a cool one, so look out for that one. Yeah, definitely. But great. Yeah, try and do as many shows as we possibly can.
Okay, great to know. So, well, Andreas, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me doing this one. So thanks for this opportunity to talk with you. As I said in the first question, love Buster Grapes since the beginning to now. I have the first 2 and CD. I hope the board of these Borders of the Ghost arrive soon. So to hear, I don't like the digital promos, because I always think the digital loss a loss of music, a loss of condiments there. But I hope arrive soon my album. So perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalino followers?
Hey man, just listen to death metal, man. And thanks for the interview, and appreciate it. Thanks.